Hello and welcome to a special interview on kickboxingontap.com. Today my special guest, I'm joined by Adam Shelley, multiple world-time ITF world champion and multiple-time ITF European champion. Adam, thank you for taking the time to chat to me today and thank you for hosting me.
How are you doing, Kieran? Thanks for coming over and giving me the time to do a little interview. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. So your martial arts journey is going to be adding another chapter this year. You make your pro MMA debut in May. But I think what people really want to know is, where did it all start and how did you get into martial arts in the first place?
Yeah, so basically I started out in ITF Taekwondo. Myself and my two brothers, my younger brother Ryan, my older brother Alex. Just three lads in the house, always messing, fighting, that type of thing. And my dad always wanted to get us into some type of self-defense and that type of thing. So he went researching local sort of Taekwondo clubs, karate clubs, whatever he could find. There was a Taekwondo club nearby and we joined up there. Just loved it from the get-go. Loved the sparring, even loved it like the traditional side of it, like the patterns, all that type of thing. So in that particular club where we were, it was in Alsa Sports Centre out in beside the airport. Trained there for 3 years. We moved to Australia for a year, the whole family. Continued training over there in the Olympic style, WTF Taekwondo. Came back and we moved here now, Whitehall where we are now. And I started training down in Kalesa Taekwondo Club. That was beginning of 2005. And just that's where I really fell in love with it. That's when it took hold of me. Like my coach down there, Niall Jones, whatever it was, he just instilled a love in the sport for me. I really liked it. Went on to push towards national team. When I got to the national team, my first one was competing in the World Championships in Argentina. And just that's when that was it. I was hooked then. And just my goal was just to become the best, win as much titles as I could, and I went on to do that, thankfully.
Yeah. And can you still remember like the first lesson you went to, and how was that for you?
I can actually, yeah. So when we went into the hall, it was a busy class in that club at that time, and there was a lot of kids on the mat. Like, so let's say if the class was starting for 6:30, I think because we struggled finding the place and getting in or whatever, we got there just before the start of the class. So all the other kids were already there and they were all like practicing their moves and stuff on the mat. There was higher belts in the class, like there was kids who were like close to black belt and stuff. And I remember just thinking, yeah, this looks cool. Like I can get on board with this, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, like so we mentioned in the intro that European champion, world champion. When you get to that sort of level and you're having your hands raised, declared a world champion, what's that feeling like?
It's hard to explain. Like for me, it was years and years of hard work come to fruition. Like, I becoming world champion, like as a goal, that sort of, I probably started thinking about that when I was about 11 or 12, I'd say. Because that's when I started. Would have been talking to Niall and stuff. He was a coach with the national team at that time, and then so I started asking, well, I didn't know Taekwondo had an Irish team, and he explained to me that you go through a qualification process to get onto the Irish team, and then you go and you compete. So like each country send their best to a Worlds or Europeans, and whoever wins that competition then is the best in the world. And I sort of became fascinated by it then, and so like a lot of sort of top athletes, like I knew my first time in the Worlds 2015, like I knew going into it I was capable of it. I knew I could do it. I was confident I'd do it. But there's just nothing like when the final buzzer went and like in Taekwondo you can see the score on the board. So I knew I had won the fight. And it's just, if I could just bottle that up and feel it all the time, it'd be amazing.
I mean, that's got an extraordinary journey to go from, training as a kid, getting 11, 12 questioning, can I become a world champion? Can I do this internationally? But where was there any sort of hardships on the road? Because obviously that's a very long road to go from training as a kid from white belt, going from to your black belt, and then to a world championship. What was the biggest hardship for you?
There was plenty of hardship, and that's because I sort of finished out the tail end of my Taekwondo career. I went unbeaten from for 4 years, like 2013 to 2017. But like before that, I had a lot of losses and stuff. Like lots of people, it does take the losses to make you better. So like my first time coming around, like when I got on the team, like my first Worlds, to be honest, I probably wasn't expecting much for that one. This back when I was 15, so I got beaten in that one. And then I went to Europeans, got beaten in that one, and it was after that Europeans I made big improvements and stuff. So then I was going to my second World Championships. I was just gone 17, and like I was quite confident. Like I was very confident going over that I was going to win. I lost that one. Then I won my first Junior Europeans. And then my first two as a senior I was beaten as well. So there was plenty there along the way. Like then there was like, you know, one competition where I had to get my appendix out near enough to it. I thought I wasn't going to be able to compete at the event. And yeah, there's been lots of setbacks, like, you know, lots of little things. But I think everybody needs that to sort of to give you that motivation to push on and go get then what you want. And
I mean, it's an incredible journey you've been on. But as you mentioned sort of before, you know, you trained for a year in Australia doing the Olympic style Taekwondo. We're now in 2020, Olympic year, Taekwondo still in the Olympics despite, you know, numerous changes to the sport, to make it more fan friendly and more understandable. But as someone who's trained in both disciplines, what do you think needs to change for it to become more fan friendly? Is it a case of they need to introduce ITF to it, or is it a case of just throw more stuff in and see what happens?
Talking about both sides of Taekwondo here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not only did I spend that year training the Olympic style, so my best friend Conor Grassick, he very strong competitor in WTF for years. That he's getting back into it now. He was an Olympic hopeful and stuff for a while. So like I trained with him when I was about 16. I used to go up to his place, where he used to train with like the Leinster squad and the Irish squad, and I moved around with them a bit. Johnny Hayden was the coach back then, and I experienced it a bit, and it was cool. Like I did like it. It was just I was probably preferring my hands a little bit more at that time as well in ITF, and that's how I was struggling with all the kicks, and then that I couldn't really use my hands. But in order to make it more fan friendly, for the WTF, I actually prefer the old style of WTF. So when you watch the WTF now, they use the electronic body armors, and it's very tippy-tappy, like to get the scores. They have electronic head guards, electronic body armors. But if you ever go back and watch the stuff, like I advise anybody listening to this, go back and watch the stuff from like 20 years ago. Like they went at it. Like I think they used to wear their bare feet. And like
that was when they were knocking guys out. That was before tippy tappy point sparring sort of came into it.
Exactly, like, and even ITF, so like my taekwondo, like it's going through a bit of a transition. It's always evolving and stuff. But like again, for me personally, if I look back, probably where are we now? 2020. If you go back 15 years, some of them old scraps in ITF were really, really good. They were fights. Now, sort of the rules, I think they're coming around. They're going to go full circle. But there was a little period there where the referees they're being too strict on contact, not allowing the fight to sort of flow and progress. But from what I have heard, there's been meetings and stuff like that. Umpires are meeting together now, and they're starting to look at it more, because let's face it, everybody wants to see a bit of a barn burner. Like, you know, they want to see two lads going at it, not in a sloppy way, not in a brawly way, but a good, intense, free flowing fight, rather than being stopped constantly. And then I always find it interesting, if you ever get if you want to know sort of how entertaining a sport is, get somebody who doesn't know a lot about it. So like if you get somebody who doesn't know a lot about combat sports and they watch a boxing match, it's quite easy to see. It's two lads using their hands and having a free flowing fight. But sometimes when people watch WTF Taekwondo or ITF Taekwondo, if they don't know the rules, and they're saying, well, why are they stopping it now? Why are they stopping it now? So like I just think to make it more free flowing, like there's amazing athletes in both sports, because of the way the sports are taught at a young age. Kids develop this level of flexibility and strength that a lot of other sports don't teach. So you have phenomenal athletes. They should be allowed to express themselves and let all these shots go. But like I said, give it a couple of years for ITF anyway, and I think it's going to go around again, and it will be. I have always thought it's been more entertaining than WTF. That's my opinion, not being biased. But who knows what will happen in the future in terms of Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, coming from an ITF background myself, and sort of seeing the differences between WT Taekwondo and WTF, now WT, whatever they call it. Yeah. But one of the things that always struck me was, I always got told off a lot for contact, and I was wondering what was your, like, as someone that got to the elite level of Taekwondo, what was your take on contact? Do you think once you're at the elite level going to World Championships, do you think it should be a case of knockouts are allowed if it's technical shots?
Definitely, yeah, I would agree with that. And again, shots like, let's say like a back reverse, like a spinning kick, and if you accidentally use the heel or a back kick or a 360-degree turning kick, like if any of them shots make any type of connection, like it's more than likely going to result in knockout, like, you know.
It's just the sort of nature of the technique, isn't it?
Yeah, and I get it that they do want to keep the sport tidy, technical and skilled. So, all right, maybe if they wanted to, you know, penalise, like if you were swinging from the trees, like, you know, with big shots with your hands, maybe to penalise that. But I think to keep its identity as a kicking art, I know ITF, there is hands, but it's still predominantly kicking. But to keep that, I think they should award them shots. And if, so for example, if somebody runs onto a back kick and they get knocked out, like, it's sort of their fault. Like, that's what I'd be liking anyway. I think that rule was introduced around 2013. I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me, but I think now it's that if you knock somebody out, regardless of what it was with, if they were coming onto it, I think it results in straight disqualification.
Yeah, there was a world championship, I think it's 2012. They were disqualifying people for they were spinning back kicks and stuff, but there were people running onto them with like hands down. It was knockouts, and there was a few discussions with referees that resulted in raised voices and things like that.
I don't think you can have such an objective view that, like, oh well, if it's a knockout, it's a disqualification. It does need to be like, for example, if you look at the kickboxing circuit, light contact kickboxing, it is light contact, like, but you would actually see a couple of knockouts in that. But that could be somebody coming forward with their chin high and they walk onto a solid backhand, and they get knocked out, like, you know, and that's allowed. It's like, okay, well, he came onto it, the refs don't penalise. Now if somebody was swinging bombs, then they will be penalised. So I think it maybe allow the referees to come in, have a discussion about what just happened, and then go from there.
Yeah. Now, sort of going into the sort of MMA now, you're having to change your style up a bit. What are the biggest changes you're having to make in your style of fighting? Because obviously MMA, there's a lot more grappling involved, and I know you like doing your spinning kicks and things like that. Is that something you're having to now sort of wean back a bit on?
If anything, actually, I've found now, like you'll see it now in my pro debut, I'll be able to go back now to sort of that taekwondo style that I have, like even spinning kicks, side kicks, stuff. So Chris Fields and Tom King are my coaches now out in Team KF. So when I first went out there and I was sparring, like, I had a very sort of taekwondo style, which is natural enough. That's where I came from. And Chris sort of encouraged me to adopt more of a sort of a boxing stance for takedown defense. It's sort of hard to defend the takedowns when you're in that side-on stance. So I was getting ragdolled when I was in that side-on stance. So I adapted it to go a little bit more square, use my hands, not square, but a little bit more full-facing, to improve my takedown defense. Now my takedown defense has gotten an awful lot better, and I'm much better at reading takedowns and judging takedowns. So now I'm able to drift back into that a little bit, and I can start even mixing between the two now, because I spend time boxing and kickboxing as well. So I'm quite comfortable sort of if I want to use hands, if I want to use my legs, I'm comfortable doing both. So I can drift between the two now. So that'll come out this year. I'm looking forward to showing that side.
Yeah, so you mentioned they're training with Team KF. The guys down there, phenomenal guys. James Webb, former Cage Warriors champion. Ian Gary is my take on the Cage Warriors roster to be the next Irish champion, next UFC champion to come from Cage Warriors. What's it like training with those guys, and sort of when did that sort of happen?
Yeah, it's amazing. First things first, like, it's really good to train with that level of guys. And then, basically myself and my brother Ryan, we competed in the World Championships in Ireland for ITF Taekwondo in October 2017. And we both won that. So we had sort of achieved our goals, like, in that sport. That year, 2017, we both won the Europeans in the April, and then we both won the Worlds in the October. And we had won stuff previous to that too. So we just decided that we were getting more and more intrigued with MMA. He was 21, I was 23. Just with all the talk about it, Conor McGregor, like, increasing the popularity. A lot of people asking me, Jays, would you do MMA? And I'd be looking at the striking in MMA, thinking that I would beat a lot of guys, even in UFC. Like, I'm watching it, and I'd fancy my chances against them on the feet. Back then, I was looking. So then I said, okay, like, I'd like to, in my opinion, I have the striking box ticked. So I was like, I'd like to try this. So my older brother, Alex, is good friends with Cathal Pendred. So I said to Alex, ask Cahill where we should go training and what gym he'd recommend. And he said to Alex that his friend Chris Fields had opened up out in Swords. I think Chris was open about a year and a half at that point. And Swords is only out the road. We're in Whitehall here.
Yeah.
So just been out the road. So we went out there, and just the atmosphere in the gym, the standard of the gym, we fell in love with it from the start. Like, I've been around a lot of clubs over my years. I've been very lucky in that, like, when I trained in Taekwondo, I was in a very strong club. When I went to kickboxing, I was in a very strong club, Robbie Hahn, a Leaf fighter. When I was doing a bit of boxing, I was in the DCU boxing club and a Glasnevin as well, a bit strong clubs, good coaches, good lads. So I know a good club when I see a good club. I also know a bad one when I see a bad one. So when I went into, back then it was SPG Swords at that time, when I went in I was like, yeah, this is a good club, good coaches, good lads, good atmosphere, good work ethic. It ticked all the boxes for me, so I was very happy to stay there. 2 years on, still there, still learning, and looking to make my pro debut.
Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned there Conor McGregor being sort of like, a figure in deciding to go into MMA and getting intrigued with it. He's sort of been linked to being responsible for the first Irish MMA boom, and Irish MMA is now going through sort of a secondary boom. Just about every big promotion going wants to get involved. Cage Warriors got 3 shows over Northern Ireland, the Republic. Bellator on tonight. They're probably going to have another 2 or 3 more events in Dublin this year. UFC's returning to Dublin in August. What's that like for someone who's now making the pro debut to say, hang on, look at all these opportunities that are coming around?
It's amazing. It's really, really good, and it's very positive to see it. And then it raises awareness then as well, among the general public, because people will be asking me then, because they see stuff advertised and they say, oh, so that's what you're doing, and it's good, it just promotes the sport everywhere. Me personally, the route I want to go is I want to go Cage Warriors UFC. For me, that's the best route, and that's what I want to do. Yeah.
I mean, with all these shows coming over here as well, obviously that's going to make it easier for you to sort of get noticed, get more people to your fights. How big is that for you? Because obviously your pro debuts in Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough's, you've got to get the ferry or the plane across for fans, so tickets cost, hotels, flights and stuff. And how nice is that now for you to say, oh, I'm actually fighting, down the road in Cork, or I'm in Belfast? How nice is that for you to be able to get people to your fights, knowing they're going to be local? Yeah,
it's amazing. And then like that, you can get more people. Like all of last year, even when I was an amateur, a couple of my fights were in the UK, and just the way things are a little bit at the moment, particularly in the Republic, there's not many shows. Well, there hasn't been, but now they're sort of on the come up, they're on the way back. And I've always people ask me, when are you going to be fighting in Dublin? When are you going to be fighting even in Ireland where I can come and watch? So, like I said, I have my pro debut now in May in Middlesbrough, but hopefully I'll be on some of them Cage Warriors cards in Ireland. I'll be ready to go on any of them, even if they have to be short notice, but I'll be ready to go on a lot of them.
Now mentioning Cage Warriors there, obviously you fought on Cage Warriors cards before, on the amateur cards, the 2 fights against Marcus Hammond. That 1 win apiece, that's a fight that needs to be ran back surely at pro level.
So, Marcus Lewis,
sorry.
Lewis, I'd love to do that. Actually, I don't follow him on any social media, so I don't really know where he's at the moment. I'd guess and say he's sort of set to turn pro soon enough. I'd definitely like to do that 3rd one at pro level, because I'm gone now. Maybe on a Cage Warriors show in Liverpool or Dublin, wherever, it'd be easy. I'm sure people would want to see it as well, so it would get a lot of people at the fight too.
Yeah. And what's sort of the ultimate goal then for you going forward in MMA, and how far do you want to take this?
As far as I can, UFC champion. For me, I've gotten to the top of every sport I've competed in. When I was in Taekwondo, I got to 2-time world champion there. Kickboxing, I got to world level. I never actually won a WACO World Championships. I got to the quarterfinal twice. I won the Irish Open 3 times, which is the biggest kickboxing tournament in the world. So I don't sort of settle for second best. I'm never there to make up the numbers. So as I said, got to the top of 2 sports. I'm not coming into MMA for any different other than to reach the top. It takes time, it takes hard work, and I'm giving it both of them things at the moment, and my time will come.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. Now, that's all I've really got to ask you, but before I wrap up, I just want to give you the opportunity to make any shout-outs to sponsors, coaches, teammates, anything like that.
Yeah, as always, so big shout-out to the lads and Team KF, Chris and Tom out there and all the boys who help me improve week in, week out. The clubs I've came through before, the kickboxers in Elite Fighter with Robbie Haw. I learned a lot of my trade around there. Kalesa Taekwondo, where I first started. I always have to remain thankful and grateful to them clubs. My sponsor, actually I got a sponsor there during the week. It's Cheeky P Nutrition. They're providing me with meals and stuff now. Top 10 Martial Arts, they'll provide me with gear. It's a German-based company. And then just to all my family and friends, my girlfriend Sarah, my mum, dad, my 2 brothers who are always there supporting me, encouraging me to chase what I want, and to everybody who comes and support me in all my fights, and to media and stuff for giving us this opportunity to promote ourselves in MMA. So very appreciative of that.
All right, man. Thank you for your time and best of luck with your fight.
Thanks very much, Kieran. Cheers. Yeah.